All right, so hello everyone and welcome to the fall semester finale of our Workforce Wednesday series. My name is Clarissa Tejeda and I am the Associate Director of Career Services here at A&M San Antonio, and we're joined by a really special guest today that I'm so excited to just kind of learn about her journey. We have Joanna Ledesma from United Way. Joanna actually serves as the Vice President of Accounting out at United Way of Bexar County. So thank you so much for joining us today, Joanna.
Thank you for having me.
And a couple of housekeeping reminders. So first off, we will be using the chat box. If you do have any questions throughout the session, feel free to go ahead and enter. This also includes our Facebook Live audience. Again, go ahead and enter into the chat. Also, in terms of sound quality, because of Zoom, I think we've all learned to go ahead and mute our mics when we're not speaking just to help with the feedback of it. And then the final reminder, we are going to be recording this session and posting it on our YouTube to Musa May's channel. So it will be on the playlist titled Workforce Wednesdays. So let me go ahead and close that out because I want to keep this just a conversation. So let's close out the slide deck. And Joanna, let's get started and chatting, okay? So first off, I would love if you can tell us a little bit more about your educational and your professional background.
All right, so I am a graduate of Our Lady of the Lake University. I graduated in 2007. Hey, Clarissa is also a graduate, so that's actually where we met. Hey, connections are good. This is an example right here. But let me go back a little further. So while I was in high school, I actually worked summers with my dad. He has his own bookkeeping and tax services and does financial planning. So I actually did some work over there with my dad, and I picked up some accounting stuff and things like that. Although while I was in school, I was taking medical courses. Wait, what? Why? I was actually more interested in the medical field. I wanted to be a forensic scientist and a medical examiner, but for whatever reason in my head, I thought, do I want to be in school? How long do I want to be in school? Do I want to be in school like several years or knock it out in 4 years? So for whatever reason, that was my mental thinking, and I chose accounting, and I picked it up while working with my dad, and I just kept going with it. So also, like when my dad would have conferences and stuff, we would go with him. That was actually kind of more of our family trip. That was the reason that I would get to go, is that was our trip. We would go with dad while he was in class. My mom and I would go and enjoy ourselves. And then we'd see my dad after he was done with classes. But after a while, I was like, hey, can I join in some of the classes? I want to see what is this about? I was just curious. And I'll tell you, a lot of the stuff went over my head. I was like, I don't know what this is, but hey, it sounds cool. And then I actually met a lot of different people there, a lot of different backgrounds, finance, accounting, financial planning, just from all over the world, really. And so I eventually, one of those connections led to my first part-time job in San Antonio while I was at the university at Our Lady of the Lake. So she actually took me under her wing, and I joined her firm part-time. And I started there. I really was like, okay, I was super scared. I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, I know what a debit and a credit is. Now what? So she put me with one of the managers there, and he actually, I wouldn't say pigeonholed me, but their expertise was nonprofit accounting. And so I learned really more nonprofit accounting, and I learned about grant accounting and grant compliance. So that's where I picked that up initially. And then eventually that turned into spending a few months in Austin working on the state of Texas audit, since I was drafted to go over there and do that. And I picked up more experience over there. But anyway, aside from that, for a connection that I had with my professor, his daughter was a recruiter for a firm. And she worked with another lady that also was a recruiter as well. And her father was a partner at another firm. Anyway, somehow my name popped up and I got a phone call and they said, hey, we'd really like for you to come join this firm. Okay, I jumped on it and I ended up at another firm. So that's where I was. And they were looking for a nonprofit person and I had the experience they were looking for. So it just seemed a good fit. So I stayed there for a few years as a staff auditor, and worked my way up. Eventually that firm, well, actually I had two managers there that actually took me under their wings and helped me professionally and learn more things, and learn the ropes of, the audit world, and not only accounting, but also the audit world. And so, and I do still keep in touch with them as well. Forever grateful for them. And eventually that firm that I was at merged with an international firm. And so I was like, okay, so there's new things, the culture was changing. I was a little concerned. So I thought, I'll give it a year and see what happens. Well, within that year, we merged with another firm. So there was a lot of merging, a lot of moving parts and things like that. So I got to the point where I was like, I don't know if I like the culture. It's not what I wanted anymore. I'm not feeling it. So I was already thinking I need to look for another place, when out of the blue, I had a contact from a former client, and they said, hey, come work with us. We'd love to have you here. That's how I ended up at United Way, and that's almost been about 6 years ago. So that's my story of how I got to here. I came in as a director of grant accounting, and then they wanted me to kind of move more toward the accounting instead of grant accounting. So then I moved into the accounting world. And then from there, I moved up to vice president. So that's where I'm at now.
First of all, I'm just so proud of you. Again, I remember our undergrad years, trucking along, studying overnight, but you've come such a long way, and just kudos to you and everything you've been able to accomplish.
Thank you.
Now, okay, so networking seems to be a huge common trend here. And that's conversation we've been having more with students, that it is intimidating to go to networking events. What advice would you have, going to their first networking event? Like, how do they spark up a conversation like that?
Just find somebody you feel like you vibe with. Just search the room, check out the energy, find a group of people. Hey, maybe even go with a friend that has it's also an accountant. Maybe both of y'all can get introduced, maybe easier that way, to somebody you don't even know. There's a lot of events. I mean, also even through United Way, we have a volunteer center. Come volunteer, come to the events. There's other professionals that are doing that as well. That's a place where you can meet people and have a common experience of volunteering. So that I would suggest that.
Well, thank you for that. All right. So in terms of skills, what are some of the key skills really needed for your current role? And how have you kind of developed them over time to make sure you're top notch?
People skills. People skills is a big thing. It's hard to teach somebody people skills. So while you're in college, develop it however you need to. Networking events. It's very hard to be at a firm or a place of employment when somebody is not feeling like they're a team player or something like that. Some things can be done individually. Team player things happen a lot more. So if you have those skills, you can talk with others, you can communicate, that is a big plus. And just over time and getting out of my shell and meeting people and meeting with clients and being in situations where I was like, oh, I didn't think I could do this. It's just developed me and peeled the layers of, I guess, me being scared away to be where I'm at now. I would say, obviously, sharpen your accounting skills. That's a big obvious. But also in accounting, learn what you can in Excel. Excel is like the biggest thing. I mean, I know there's certifications you can do in Excel. Even if you just know the basics, that's great. But I had an intern one time who I gave her a project and I was like, it'll take her about 4 weeks or so. And lo and behold, she finished it in a week. And I was like, what, how did you do that? And she's like, oh, I recorded a macro in Excel. And I was like, I don't even know what a macro is, but hey, if it did it, it did it. And she got it. And she was trying to teach me, but I just don't do that all the time, learning macros and stuff. So whatever you can to better yourself, to gain more knowledge, to make you stand out among others is always great.
Yeah, and right now, just FYI for anybody viewing this is a wonderful time again with COVID. Online professional development is such a thing right now. There's so many free platforms. Joanna had mentioned, again, certifications. There are a ton of great initiatives through Microsoft Learning, LinkedIn Learning. So take full advantage of it. Again, it's been a great opportunity to kind of upskill a bit more.
Very.
Now, I want to know, so all those years of accounting, again, from high school to now, what has been your favorite professional project?
Okay, so when I first got to United Way, and I think the reason that they brought me, I don't know, you could ask others, they may have a different opinion. I think the reason that they brought me in was they had a huge federal grant called the Eastside Promise Neighborhood Grant. There was a lot of administrative work that also needed to be done with that in dealing with not only accounting, but grant accounting and grant compliance. To make sure everything, all the I's were dotted, T's were crossed type thing, because nobody wants to get in trouble for a huge grant. I mean, I think this was the biggest grant in United Way's history. I believe it was over $20 million over 5 years. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of teamwork. It was a lot of community building. It was a lot of meeting with agencies, coordinating with agencies, and ultimately to help the individuals, the families, the children in that area to better themselves, to gain more, knowledge and get into careers and things like that, and further their education, whatever we needed to do to help them. So I think that in itself was just a huge project, but it was the reason that I think it was the best was because it was ultimately very rewarding to see the success that it was and all the people that we helped.
And also, isn't it pretty it's just eye-opening to think that, again, an accountant, right, can really transform a community, because that grant is transforming such a critical part of our city to make sure that there is growth there and there is job readiness. So
yes.
Awesome job. Did you ever think you could do that as an accounting major?
No. If you had told me that in college, I'd say, yeah, right, whatever. No, that's not happening. That's not me. But I mean, it all wasn't just me. It's a huge team effort, and everybody had to play their role that they were assigned, and just coming together and working together again with the people skills, working together to accomplish something huge and something just so awesome was rewarding in itself.
Now, I want to talk, we went positive, right? I want to talk about challenges, because that's also a moment, I think, in careers that sometimes things don't happen the way we thought they were going to happen. But, how do we react to it? So what has been your greatest challenge / learning moment so far in your career?
Okay, so going back to my first part-time job, which turned into my first full-time job, I was the one that didn't have a family. I was the one that wasn't tied down at the time. So my manager was like, hey, oh, by the way, every year we send somebody to Austin to go for a few months and work on the state of Texas audit. And I was like, okay. And so I figured, I was like, I guess that's going to be me this year, huh? And yes, I was right. So we went together. I remember going to the audit firm's office. We were in a huge conference room. The whole audit team was, 40 people, including the partners. And just coming out of college, I was pretty intimidated by that. I said, I don't think I belong here. Obviously in my head, I'm thinking, I don't think I belong here. Who would have, known that I'd be here? But just being in that room and listening to all the game plan of how we're going to address this audit, and then everybody introducing themselves and what teams they were going to be on. And I was on the Health and Human Services Commission team for that audit. And my manager was like, well, he went with me to that meeting, and he was like, okay, so call me if you need me, and I'll see you when you get back to San Antonio. And I was like, wait, what? You're not going to stay with me? Like, how, what? What's going on? He's like, no, you got this, and they'll teach you what you need to know. And I was totally terrified, and I again felt like I really shouldn't be here, but I took on the challenge. I put my big girl pants on and I said, okay, let's figure this out. Let's see what I can do. Let's see how I can help, what they need me to do. And so I learned a lot from that audit firm. It was KPMG, I believe. And they helped me, and I was there for, I guess, maybe 3-4 months. But luckily, I'm from San Marcos, so I would drive back and forth. I would stay in my parents' house, and I would drive back and forth from Austin. So it wasn't too bad. It was kind of nice because I got to spend some time with my family after being in San Antonio for so long. But yeah, so eventually I got really good. I guess they thought I got really good. No, I didn't. I really got good at doing some audit assignments and doing some testing and things like that they sent me out on my own. So they were like, okay, today or this week, you're going to spend your time at this office. Here's the address and off you go. So I went off by myself. And if I had any trouble or anything, they were like, just call and we'll, if we need to, somebody will come out. And if not, we'll just walk it through with walk it through on the phone and we'll address it. So that was my biggest challenge, I think, was being out there by myself, like baptized by fire, like sink or swim, let's see what you can do. So that I say was my greatest challenge.
Well, kudos to you, because again, I think that's always, when you get that first big assignment as like a new grad, it's terrifying.
It is. It's truly terrifying. I was like there, like sitting at the desk, and my leg was shaking. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I got over it, and I rolled up my sleeves, got to work, and took care of business.
Nice. Now, you had mentioned also having mentors throughout your career. What do you look for in a mentor? What are some maybe questions, like what should students be looking for if they're trying to find that kind of relationship?
Kind of the same advice I would tell you, like feel the vibes in the room. Who can you approach more? Who seems easy to approach? Who seems willing to share their knowledge with you? Who seems like you can connect with them and listen to that and leverage on that and build that connection from there, whether it's, just, hey, want to go to lunch? And that leads on to further conversations, or just different things like that. I mean, I also built relationships with in the audit firm. We would work long hours, and so we would sometimes be at the office at 9-10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, working on assignments. And we would bring in dinner, and we would just hang out in the office, chit chat, talk about families, talk about life, talk about other stuff, and you just build those relationships that way. Just don't be afraid to, try it. If somebody doesn't, reciprocate and they don't, connect with you in the same way, well, you tried, find somebody else. That would be my advice.
Okay, so the elephant in the room, COVID, right? It has happened. We have really had to adjust as working professionals. I'm curious, what have you had to do individually to adjust, but also your team that works with you? What have y'all had to do to make sure, again, business as usual?
Individually, I think I've done kind of what everybody else has done. Once, I think it was spring break when my son this was his first year in kindergarten. So he totally had like he has a skewed idea of like, hey, school is, go to class for 2 hours and then it's free time. No, it's not. I told him, this never happened before. And obviously you can see with all these different calendar stuff and counting stuff, he was doing virtual schooling for a little while, but then he's back in school full time as of mid-October. But it was the best thing for him. He wasn't challenged so much here at home as much as I knew he wanted to be and he should be. And so now he's back at school and he's loving it. But as far as for work and stuff, we had to think about our technology. We were actually, when COVID happened, we were gearing toward being able to work remotely and, do all that different type of stuff that we wouldn't have to be in the office. But then when COVID hit, it's like, oh, okay, we got to ramp it up. We got to do it now. It's no longer, like a 6-month thing. We got to do it now. So we had to, adjust our budgets, figure out what needs to get done. People are, got to be home. They got to be on the system. Then we ran into the trouble that some people didn't even have internet at home. So now we got to get them set up for internet, or they didn't have computers. We got to get them computers. Whatever it took, we had to figure all those logistics out. And as far as in the office, we went 100% virtual. And I remember when we tested our system, they let us go home early, I think about 4 o'clock, and they were like, or 3:30, and they were like, okay, everybody at 4 o'clock, log into the system and make sure that you can log in and make sure our system can hold everybody on a VPN network. And so we did, and luckily there was nothing, no kinks or anything, and it worked the first time, so it was great. So kudos to our IT people for, gearing that up super fast and setting that up. And, without them, then without the structure, then the rest of us wouldn't be working. So grateful for that. So now, since we were 100% virtual, around late fall, I guess, is when we started trying to come back to the office. So we pretty much said at least 50% capacity inside the office, no visitors. So as of right now, we're still at 50% capacity. Some departments have where they're like 1 week off and 1 week on, like they would, work that way within their department. Accounting, we kind of need to be in a little bit more often. So I'm in the office, say Monday and Tuesday, and then I'm at home the rest of the week. And another one of my staff is in the office Wednesday, Thursday, and then somebody else on Friday. Bills have to be paid, check requests have to go through. Accounting world does not stop just because of COVID. We still have other stuff to do. So that's pretty much how we've handled it, or COVID anyway.
How have y'all actually, I guess, maintained those relationships then as a team?
We use Zoom, Zoom meetings. We Zoomed a lot. A lot of Zoom meetings, but now we are on Microsoft Teams, so we have a lot of team meetings that way. We use our little chat boxes a lot. Actually, our phones, if you call our main line, if you call even our direct lines, they roll over into our cell phones. So, we have to be accessible. We have to get the work done. COVID or not, the community still has issues, people still have needs. Even greater now because of COVID and all that's involved and things like that. So the work still has to get done. The work is still there, and actually the need is greater.
Very, very true, especially with United Way. It's a lifeline for so many organizations here.
It is.
So if you can go back in time, so undergrad right? Again, that freshman, sophomore, trying to explore still, what's a piece of advice you would offer yourself?
I would tell myself to not only buckle down, study, which I did, but just make sure you're good in your studies, but also go and once you're eligible, take the CPA exam. I didn't take the CPA exam. I still haven't taken it. It's not that I don't think I would have gone down this path anyway. I think it maybe would have just been faster, perhaps. I think it still would have ended up here. I enjoy it here. But ultimately, I think the CPA, that little piece of paper, will open up more doors and maybe faster. So it's not to say that you can't go far without a CPA license. That's entirely up to you. But it's obviously a personal decision. But I would tell myself back then, when I thought, hey, I should go and experience the real world and working, and I should get work experience before taking the CPA exam. That was my thinking. And then life happened, and I had a family. And then, it's not to say you can't take a CPA exam. It just makes it harder. So it just depends on your personal preference, really.
It is probably one of the most challenging exams out there. So it's no joke.
Yeah.
So also, what kind of student experience would you advise them? So should they be looking for part-time internships, student organizations? What should that landscape be?
Get your foot in the door wherever you can. Obviously, COVID is such a hard thing right now, and it throws a whole monkey wrench in everything. But internships would be great, ideally. But unfortunately, some people aren't allowing visitors in the office. So it's really hard to do an internship online when I'm not there, or when somebody's not there showing you and helping you, think about like how things need to get done and things like that. So it makes it really hard, unfortunately, right now. But whatever opportunity you can do it. It looks great on your resume. It builds your experience, and it builds your relationships as well.
So I guess another one I also have, are there any specific resources that you would recommend right now for students to explore? Like, is there any, I guess, professional associations you would recommend for them?
Yes, there's the San Antonio Cpa Society. My former manager, she was actually president, she's immediate past president now. But she, obviously that's a great recommendation, to be local and to build those relationships locally. Also through the Texas Society of CPAs, I believe also there's a student membership that you can do. I think it's a fee, or may not be a fee, I don't remember anymore, but I would recommend getting on that, and you can get on their newsletters or mailing lists to get all the up-to-date internships or positions available. They usually post that on there. Those would be my recommendations. I was a student member, I think, way back in the day. It's been a while. So yeah, and whatever, wherever you can find accounting, you want to try LinkedIn. Some people will connect via LinkedIn, or connect different ways, or connect through like the career services. Obviously we have, from college, we've known each other. So that's a connection there. And then you can, further that connection with other accounting students. And I'm more than happy to talk with them, offline off of this, if they have any more specific questions.
Yeah, the power of networking is no joke. Again, maybe even establishing those relationships with your faculty member. Joanna had mentioned, again, the fact that was a referral just from a faculty, that's a huge thing, because they got to see your performance in the classroom. So making sure you are having that dialogue with your faculty could be a game changer.
Definitely. Even when you don't even know they're watching you. I was like, oh, how did my name, how are y'all talking about me? And I'm like, okay, well, hey, I'll take it. I'll jump on that. Let's go.
Now, I do want to ask, so your industry, right? So nonprofit accounting, where do you see that going in 5 years?
I think the need will be there. I think it fluctuates from like a dramatic need like right now because of COVID, but I think there will unfortunately always be something that's needed, that people need assistance with, whether it's assistance with early education, assistance with graduating, assistance with finding career paths, jobs, anything. I think there's always going to be that need. Somebody's always going to need that help, and we will be there to help them however way we are able to. And other nonprofits as well. It's not just us. And collectively, that's what we try to do. We work with other nonprofits to, to meet the needs of the community, and that's the important thing.
And then what are your short-term and long-term goals? Have you identified that? Because that's also one of those things that we've noticed a huge trend with a lot of the working professionals, where like, I always have goals for myself. I want to continuously learn. What are those for you?
It's funny because I never saw myself 5 years ago. I never saw myself here. So my goals, I guess, have changed as I've been growing professionally. So I think it's just to continue to do the best that I can where I'm at. Eventually, it would probably be to take the CPA exam. It's just like I had previously said, once you have a family, it makes it a little challenging. It's not that it can't be done, but you've got to really buckle down and study, because those exams cost money. So do the study materials. But fortunately, if you are able to find an employer, they can sometimes sponsor you, and they can sometimes cover those costs as well. So that's also something to look for when you're looking for employment. Hey, what are some of the benefits? Can y'all, cover these costs for me as I stay with your company, type thing.
So I am out of question. Any lasting words of wisdom, Joanna, that you would want to share with our Jaguar community?
Network, as much as possible. Do good in school, volunteer where you can. I think as it's really interesting to see the networking, even among your own classmates at the time. Obviously, like you and I, we were in college together, and we're still, we still communicate. It's still, and even some former managers of mine, some coworkers, we still communicate with each other, and we're always there for, support, whatever way possible. And even if it's professionally, like, hey, I have a question, like, how did you do this? How did you get there? Or just different things like that, and we're there for one another, and it's just great to have that strength, that bond with each other, to be able to fall back on, in the future as it becomes needed. Also, a funny story, so at the firm, the last firm that I was at, when I submitted my resignation letter, I submitted it to the partner. And now that I'm at United Way, a year and a half into being at United Way, well, that partner joined United Way. So my advice to you is always to make sure that you never burn bridges and you always leave in good terms, because you never know when you're going to cross paths again. Luckily, I've always left in good terms, but it's true. You never know who you're going to cross paths again. And professionally, San Antonio is a very small world. So that's probably one of my biggest advices there.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's connected in some way, shape, or form. You can always find like an introduction somewhere.
Exactly.
And again, thank you so much for just mentioning the fact how you were able to leverage that part-time job that maybe you didn't know was going to lead into a lasting career, which now look at where you're at.
Exactly. And like I said, at that time, I did not know where it was going. I did not know where I would end up. I couldn't even tell you a 10-year goal other than be working somewhere. But yeah, it has led me here, and I'm very grateful for all the people that have helped me get here. And I do my best to not forget that, because it's not only professionally but family wise too. The support on both sides is very much needed.
Yes. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and then do our closing slides. Give me 1 second. See. All right. So Jaguars, just a reminder that if you view this session within 72 hours from it, you can get credit for it. So you will go ahead and do that via Jag Sync. But also want to remind y'all that the Mace Center, we are still operational right now. Please note that we're still seeing students in this virtual environment. Again, Joanna mentioned a lot of great touch points that we want to help guide you to. Maybe you're like, I have questions about what that virtual internship looks like. Handshake, a wonderful platform. Well, I don't have a resume. How do I do that? Our career advisors are here to actually walk you through that. Even in regard to volunteerism, you have Give Pulse. You can actually search for volunteer opportunities throughout this city. So please make sure to keep connected with us. This is our general contact information, but also don't miss out on our social media. We worked really hard over the past few months to really make it engaging for you and to really share some wonderful resources. So stay connected. We would love to make sure that we're helping you throughout this entire journey. So thank you again, Joanna. I appreciate just you having some time to, come away and just talk and share your story.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And if anybody has any questions or they want to reach out to me personally, feel free to contact Clarissa and she will get you my contact information, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Bye-bye.